Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. On this program, I want to talk about the number 44 and why it is an end times number and why it predicts the downfall of the United States of America. As you know, Barack Obama is our 44th president. I believe that means he will be our last elected president. Next month, we will see the 44th Super Bowl. I believe that indicates that will be the last Super Bowl. Even our postage stamps cost 44 cents. I believe this is the last year we will even use postage stamps in the United States. Even in the kings of Israel, there were 44 kings, the last being the 44th. This can be further explained if you watch the video I have favorited by No Jesus, No Peace. He explains that you need to count David twice, just as we count Grover Cleveland twice in our list of presidents. The last king of Israel was the 44th king. Now, to verify all these prophecies, we need to look at the Bible. And that's because I believe that Barack Obama is the last king of the South, as found in Daniel chapter number 11, and the leopard, as found in Daniel chapter number 7. As you know, the leopard has 4 heads and 4 wings. That indicates Barack Obama, because he is our 44th president. Let's take a closer look at Daniel chapter number 11. Now, I have tried to explain Daniel chapter number 11 before, and it is very complicated. So I have tried to simplify it this time, and let's see how he sets up a 444 and 555 and 666 pattern of verses, because this is extremely important. Now, in the first 4 verses, Daniel describes 6 ancient kings, starting with Darius, 4 more kings, and ending up with Alexander the Great. By doing this, he is beginning 2 different sequences, a sequence of 4s and a sequence of 6s. Now, we don't understand this until we look at all of the chapter. So let's jump ahead to the last 15 verses, which are divided into a 5-5-5 sequence. Now, how Daniel does this is very interesting. In the middle of each of the 3 5-verse sections, he lists 4 items. For example, in verse number 33, he lists sword, fire, spoil, and captivity. Now, in the middle of the next 5 verses, verse number 38, Daniel lists gold, silver, precious stones, and treasures. And in the last 5 verses, that's in verse number 43, Daniel lists treasures, gold, silver, and riches. Thereby, he sets up 2 more patterns. He sets up a verse pattern of 5-5-5 and a number pattern of 4-4-4. This 4-4-4 pattern is of objects. So now, let's go back and look at verse number 1 through 4. Since Daniel is setting up verse patterns of equal numbers, it's safe to assume that the first 4 verses would be followed by another 4 verses, followed by another 4 verses. In other words, a 4-4-4 pattern. This is consistent with the 4-4-4 and the 5-5-5 pattern back here. So now if Daniel sets up those 2 patterns, it's logical to assume that the middle 18 verses would be divided into a 6-6-6 pattern. Now, all this is extremely important to establish that the last king of the South is Barack Obama and the last king of the North is the Premier of Russia. Now, why is this? Well, most Bible scholars assume that there are only 5 kings of the North. And this last king of the North, as described in these first 5 verses of the last 15 verses, is Antiochus Epiphanes. But we know if Daniel is setting up these sequences, there must be 6 kings of the North. And that means the king in the next 5 verses can't be Antiochus Epiphanes, but must be a new king of the North. I believe this new king of the North is the Premier of Russia. The same way with the kings of the South. Most Bible scholars assume there are 5 kings of the South. But we know there must be 6 kings of the South. So again, in these middle 5 verses, we find a new king of the South. And this new king of the South is Barack Obama. And if you look at verse number 40 of Daniel chapter 11, the prophet is describing World War III. Now, this sequence of end times events is shown by all of the verses of Daniel chapter number 11. In other words, the 444 sequence symbolizes Barack Obama and the times that we are living in today. This is immediately followed by a 666 sequence, which means that the forces of the Antichrist and the one world government will defeat Barack Obama. But following 666, and therefore defeating 666, is a 555 sequence, which symbolizes Mary's Rosary. Now, these last two patterns, 666 and 555, are also found in the exact same way in the Olivet Discourse as found in St. Matthew. Jesus himself verifies this sequence. Now, I'm not sure if Daniel understood what he was doing, but you can be sure that the Holy Spirit understood what was going on. Now, I fully realize that these verse numbers were all added at a later date. But if you notice, there have been hundreds, perhaps thousands of translations of the Bible into hundreds of different languages. And they all use different words and phrases in their translations. But these verse structures, they keep the same. Daniel chapter number 11 is always divided into 45 verses. I believe that the Holy Spirit inspired the translators. Certainly, every translator of the Bible asks the Holy Spirit for guidance. Now, this prophecy in Daniel, that Barack Obama will be defeated, is echoed in the prophecies of Jeremiah. Chapter number 50 also of Jeremiah describes the downfall of Babylon, which symbolizes the United States. I believe chapter number 50 refers to the 50 United States. And the king of Babylon is described in verse number 43. Here's what Jeremiah writes. The king of Babylon, now the king of Babylon would be Obama, has heard report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in labor. Jeremiah is describing when President Obama realizes that he will lose World War III. And now the next verse describes Obama to a T. Please notice that this is verse number 44. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of the Jordan. This lion refers to Barack Obama. Now, some people say that the leopard is not a lion, but actually the word leopard means spotted lion. The Leo part of leopard means lion. The lion, which Jeremiah is referring to, is a specific type of lion, and that is a leopard. Here in chapter number 50, verse number 44, Jeremiah is prophesying the downfall of the United States and the downfall of Barack Obama, just like Daniel did in chapter number 11. And if you would like more information or a free copy of my book, Revelation Unraveled, simply write to the address you see on your screen.